General Manager of Al-Zarqa Academy and his academic staff. I'd like to welcome each of you to this Cambridge Professional Development Workshop on lesson planning. It is an exciting time for us as we continue to grow and adapt, remaining always adaptable, motivated, and responsive. We are confronting the time of many changes, and we are meeting these changes during a time of a larger nationwide and global change. The world of Al-Zarqa Academy is an exciting area in which to work, study, and learn, and we will continue to meet and bring inspired people together in workshops like this to ensure that our academy remains at the cutting edge. Let me give you a brief update on where we are today. Al-Zarqa Academy for Computer and Languages and Training has started with a vision to become an outstanding expertise house and providing a distinguished training that helps in constructing abilities in various fields such as management, education, computing, and languages fields. We are transforming the way we operate to continuously improve our ability to be distinguished, innovative, professional, committed, and truthful. Our employees and partners have continued to meet the challenges and to excel despite setbacks. We should all be very proud of where we are today and excited about where we are ahead. Please let me introduce you to Peter Locantoni, who has had a long career in English language teaching and teacher training in Europe and the Middle East. He is the author and co-author of several popular books for ESL students. Before I close, I would like to thank each of you for attending this workshop. Mr. Peter Locantoni, you have the vision, the knowledge, and the experience to help us as teachers to pave our way into the future. You are truly our greatest asset today and tomorrow, and we could not accomplish what we do without your support and leadership. Throughout this workshop, I ask you to stay engaged, keep us proactive, and help us shape the future of Al-Zarqa Academy. My personal respect and thanks goes out to all of you. Many thanks and have a nice workshop. Thank you.
Hi everybody, how are you? Okay. We've actually got two workshops this evening, not one. The first one is on lesson planning, obviously, and then after the break, the second workshop, which will be on what is called Engage, Motivate and Learn. And the two workshops are very closely linked to each other. So a lot of the things we talk about in lesson planning, we will revisit after the break when we go on to the second workshop. It seems that time is very short, as always, for these types of workshops. We're going to do this one up until about 5:30, and then it'll be time for the prayer break. We'll come back at 6 and then do another hour and 15 minutes, something like that. So we should be finished around about 7:50, 7:30 at the very latest. Okay? Yeah.
Can we have that for the break?
Yeah. You're very welcome to have a soft copy of the presentation. I'll give you both presentations. I'll give you my email at the end. And if you email me, I'll be very happy to send it to you. I don't have any hard copies, and I don't put flash drives in my laptop either, so you have to do it by email. Okay? Just to check, ladies, can you hear us okay?
Yes, we hear.
You can? Okay, great. And can you see us, or see the screen?
Yes.
Okay.
The screen, no.
The screen,
Yes.
no.
No.
You-
You can't see
You can't see the screen?
Yes.
Okay, can we do something about that? It's quite important, isn't it? Okay, what I want to do in the next hour or so is talk about what a good lesson is like, and also talk about the contents of a good lesson, what a good lesson has, talk about why we plan, mention variety and flexibility, talk about the contents of a plan again, just to reiterate it, and I was going to ask you to do some lesson planning, but I don't think we're going to have time for lesson planning, but we'll see how the time goes. Okay? So, ladies, can you see the screen now?
Yes, no, yes.
Everything's okay up there? Up there? Down there? Where are you? Up or down?
No, it's okay now.
You're down. All right. Have a look at this picture and tell me what you can see. What's in the picture?
Magic.
You think it's a king? You think it's his followers? You think it's acting? Yeah? Okay, it's a play. Yeah? So a good lesson is like a play. Why? Why is a good lesson like a play? What does a play have that a lesson needs to have?
Stages.
Okay, the gentleman is saying stages. Yep. Hold up. Check the back.
Audience.
Fun.
Fun, okay?
Situational.
It is situational. Good, yeah.
Audience.
An audience as well. Gabby?
A good actor.
A good?
A good actor.
Okay, good actors as well. Okay.
Sometimes it has a didactic lesson.
Okay, what does that mean? A didactic lesson?
We can learn from it.
Okay, you can learn something from it. Yeah, yeah, it is. Good, excellent. Yes, good. Another picture. Have a look at this one. A good lesson is like
Game.
what sort of game? Not just any game. Most important game in the world. Do you know who this guy is?
Yes.
Who's this?
Messi.
Ronaldo.
It's not Messi.
Ronaldo.
Wrong colour.
Ronaldo.
It's Ronaldo. Today Ronaldo has 50 million likes on his Facebook page. 50 million. Which means Ronaldo has 5% of the world's Facebook users who like him. It's pretty amazing. Okay, so a good lesson is like a what? It's like a football match. Why? Why is a good lesson like a football match?
Because it's a competition.
Yeah, confrontation. Well, hopefully not too much confrontation, but let's see another word. Not confrontation, but competition, I think is a bit more positive, yeah? Yeah, good.
Exciting. Could be
It
exciting.
is exciting, yeah, great, good.
Challenging.
Yeah, very good. Yeah. Sorry?
Stamina.
Yes, you need stamina, you need energy, don't you? Very good. Number 3.
Food.
A football match is like what? It's like
Cooking.
a meal. What is it that a meal has that a lesson needs to have?
Ingredients.
Yeah, lovely. Ingredients, yeah? It's filling. Filling or full filling? Full filling. Yes, sir.
Aroma.
Variety.
Variety, good, yeah.
Tasty.
It is tasty.
How to make it?
Recipe.
A recipe, yeah, good. It is important, lovely, good. One more.
Traditional.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, it could be. Ladies, I'm sorry, do shout, yeah? Don't let the men overtake everything. And the last one, I don't know how clear that picture is.
Concept.
Yeah, I've got symphony. Because why is a lesson like, or a good lesson is like a symphony? Because what does a symphony have? Lovely, I like that. Harmony. Harmony between different elements. Yeah, good. Anything else?
Amusement.
Sorry?
Amusement.
Should be. Yeah, good. Beautifully orchestrated. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, good. And maybe there are some other things that a good lesson should actually be like. So let's look at those in a bit more detail. We said a good lesson is like a play because it has a structure. And a play needs to have a beginning, a middle, and an end. And so too does your lesson. It doesn't matter if your lesson is a 30-minute quick slot or 120 minutes. Students must be able to see where the lesson begins, how it's going to continue, how it's going to progress, and where the ending is. There's no point in saying we'll continue this tomorrow. That's not good enough. Yeah? You've got to have something complete in the time that you have available. It doesn't mean you can't continue something tomorrow, but it's got to be a continuation of part of that whole lesson. We also said a good lesson is like a football match, because a good football match and a good lesson needs to have pace. And pace means what in terms of teaching and learning?
Determined.
Sorry?
Determined.
Determining what?
The goals of this lesson.
Yeah, okay, I think pace has a very special meaning when it's talking about... Sorry?
Your speed in
Speed of what?
in handling the class.
The speed of handling the class? Yeah, I'll give you half a mark. So a bit more. Yes, sir?
Timing.
Timing of what?
The procedures in each step should be timed.
I'll give you half a mark as well. Not quite.
Interaction.
Yeah, what do you mean interaction?
Between teachers and students.
Yeah. Whose movement?
It should be interactive.
The class movement. Yeah, okay. You get another 3/4 of a point. Yeah.
Encouragement.
Probably encouragement is part of pace. Yeah. Gentlemen, that?
It shouldn't be monotonous.
Sorry, I can't hear you.
It shouldn't be monotonous. It should be
It shouldn't be monotonous. Yeah, half a mark. Yes, sir.
Teacher plans and students act.
Right. So what does pace mean?
A smooth flow.
It is a smooth flow. Yeah. Yeah. One more thing. Let's have one more try.
Can't go too fast or too slow.
Right. That's what it's about. It's about the speed of what the students are doing. If students are doing a reading activity, would you say that was fast-paced or fairly slow-paced? Probably quite slow, yeah? But come on, talk together. Give me the answers. Come on, come on, come on. What's that? Slow-paced or fast-paced? Come on, come on, come on. Give me the answers. Give me the answers.
Convenient pace.
So what? Is it fast or slow?
Slow.
It's fast. Come on, come on, come on. Give me the answers. That's fast. So a lesson goes like this, doesn't it? Yeah? You have times when the students can be sitting, relaxed, maybe working on their own, maybe reading something. The pace is fairly low, or slow if you prefer. There, come on, come on, come on, come on, let's do it. The pace goes up. And so the students are more involved, more agitated, and more doing things. So a lesson needs to do that. It needs to go like this. Yeah? You need to have periods where the students are very active, but also you need to bring them down as well.
Raising and falling.
Yeah, rise and fall if you prefer. Yeah? So, what about the end of a lesson? Where should the students be at the end of the lesson? Up here or down there?
Down.
Gentleman here is pointing upwards. I think point up. Why?
It's motivating.
It is motivating. So when they go out the door, what do they say?
Wow.
Wow, what a great lesson. Yeah? That was really good. But if you bring them right down, and then they leave, well, not necessarily boring, but just, I don't feel very, very active. So maybe try and finish on a high, yeah? And probably start on a high as well. We also said that a good lesson is like a meal, because a meal is that's a very important word, it's a combination of elements. And all of those different elements in your lesson should complement each other. Yeah? You can't have chocolate with fish, can you? Can you? Chocolate with fish? Maybe. Sometimes you're going to have chocolate with fish, but generally you don't. What do you normally have with fish? Rice? Yeah, salad? Yeah, they go well together. They complement each other. Yeah? So you need to find things in your lesson which all fit together. Yeah? There's no point in doing lots of speaking activities and then get students to write something. It doesn't make sense. Yeah? Of course, they may be writing, but you've got to think about how things complement. And the fourth one was the symphony. So a good lesson is going to have a theme, and the theme will continue until the closure. We said earlier, a lesson needs to have a beginning, a middle, and an end, in the same way that a play does, a symphony does. And that theme needs to run right through the lesson. Yeah? Otherwise, students are going to be thinking, well, why are we doing this? We started off with that, now we're doing that. It doesn't make sense. Yeah? So, yes. Yeah. So let's make sure we have a theme which runs through the whole of the lesson. Okay, so why do we plan? We've thought about the reasons we plan a little bit. Let's think a bit more now. We know that structure is important, we know that pace is important, we know that the different elements are important, and we know that this common theme are all important. So think of some other reasons why we plan. Let's have some specifics. For example, a plan helps to reinforce our teaching aims, the things that we want to do, but probably more importantly, the plan will help to reinforce the learning outcomes, which are obviously student-based. Okay? So I'm going to stop for a couple of minutes. You have a talk with people close to you. See if you can come up with some more specifics about why we should actually go to all the trouble of writing a lesson plan. Okay, just talk to each other for a couple of minutes. You've got a notepad, you've got a pen, make some notes. Ladies, are you with us?
Yes?
Okay, please interrupt and ask questions, yeah? Okay. Just a couple of minutes, guys. Come on. You're not talking to each other. Come on.
Because we're more prepared.
Very good. Yeah, great. Good. Okay.
To anticipate problems and prepare for them.
Yep. Yep, very important. Yeah. Ladies, come on.
It's my turn.
Yeah. I didn't mean you were a lady, I meant
I try to see this to keep up with the learning process and the
Yeah,
teacher.
very good. Yeah. Ladies, anything?
Maybe to achieve a goals.
Yep, very good. Yes, yep.
Yes, sir. Yeah, we make lesson plan to organize our ideas and to
Yeah.
accomplish the aim of the lesson.
Good, very good. Yeah. Ladies, anything?
Okay, put an outline for a lesson makes you more willing to do it because sometimes it helps you, like, let's say, psychologically.
Yes, yeah, very good. Yeah. Anything else from the ladies? No? Okay. Yeah.
In planning our lesson, we can think for a student and make more strategies for engaging or making the all the students engaging in our lesson.
Yeah, very good. Good point. Yeah, good. Yeah, one more from the gentleman.
I think that we need to plan in order to stay in control of the class.
To stay?
In control.
Yeah, yeah, I agree
Control
with
the
you.
class and the students.
Yeah, nice one. Very, very good. Okay, let me just put a few ideas up here. Most of them you've said, but let's just put them all together. Very importantly, a lesson plan will help you to ensure that you've actually got enough material. Yeah? Not too much, not too little. If you have too much material, it can actually stress you quite a lot. I've got to finish all of this by 10 o'clock. Yeah? It also ensures that you haven't got too little material. That can also stress you out. What am I going to do for the last 10 minutes? I don't have enough material. And if you've thought about your material, then of course it's going to make you think about your activities, and that's going to make you start thinking about timing, which is one of the key things with the lesson plan. A plan also, as you've said, helps you to anticipate the problems, but probably more importantly is that. Yeah, it's no good if you know what the problems are if you don't know what the solutions are. Yeah? It's one thing to identify issues which students are going to face, but if you're a good teacher, you've got to be able to do this as well, find the solutions. The trouble, of course, is that this is also very, very difficult, particularly if you don't know your students very well. How can you possibly anticipate what problems they're going to have if you don't know them? So it's very, very important with a new class that you get to know them as quickly as possible so that you can begin to anticipate the problems that they're going to have. Of course, there are general problems that all learners have with all aspects of language. If I said to you, what problems do students have with the present perfect, you could probably give me 100 problems that they have. Yeah? It's a notoriously difficult structure in English for students to understand and to use effectively. Yeah? Thirdly, make sure you don't do too much too soon. Yeah, you're welcome. Make sure you don't do too much too soon. So it allows you to pace yourself, not just pace for the students, but it's also about pacing myself as a teacher. Yeah? I need to slow down, I need to get things done in this way and at this speed. This is very important. A lesson plan will help you to think about going from the familiar, what the students know or have some concept about, towards the unfamiliar. Yeah? You've got to build on something that the students already know. Go from that. Don't try to do a lesson based around things that students have no idea about. It's going to end in disaster. Start your lesson with something which they already know, and then move on to things which are unfamiliar.
There should be a relationship between the lesson plan and the students, for example, real life.
Why not? Yeah, I would agree. Yeah.
Immediate to one familiar, from simple to more complex.
It may not necessarily be more simple. Yeah, I think simple is maybe not the right word, but I do think that we need to go from things which the students already know or are familiar with to something which is unfamiliar.
The lesson plan should be logical.
Yeah, of course it should. Yeah, a lesson plan needs to have logical stages as it progresses. A fifth point here, and I think again this is very important, we sometimes forget who the most important people are in the room. We think it's us, because we're teachers. But actually, of course, it's not us. It's not the school, it's not the organisation, it's not the academy. The most important people is the learners, the students. Yeah? And everything that you do in the classroom should be focused on your learners and helping them to learn. Yeah. So, by creating a good lesson plan, it helps you to see things from the learner's perspective. Because a lesson plan should include, teacher does, students do.
Is teaching better than learning or learning better than teaching?
I'm sure I understand the question.
Learning is better than teaching.
You don't get paid to learn. You get paid to teach, but you don't get paid to learn. Usually.
When actually the teacher is a learner as well.
The teacher is also a learner, yeah, and the students are also teachers. Okay, sixth one. You said this, 2 or 3 of you said it, a lesson plan helps to reinforce your teaching aims, but probably more importantly, helps to reinforce the learning outcomes. It's very important to think about your learners. Yes, the teacher's important, yes, the aims are important, but far more important is this, the outcomes for my learners. And it's actually quite difficult to do this. It's quite difficult to consider what your teaching aims are, to identify what your teaching aims are, and to be able to actually write them down, and to think about what my learning outcomes are, and to be able to write them in such a way that they actually make sense. Quite a difficult skill to be able to do this, particularly for teachers who are new to the profession. The lesson plan should also make sure that there isn't too much of one thing and not enough of another. Because of course, we're going to come to this in a minute, but we need variety within a lesson, don't we? We don't want to be doing the same things all the time. So by here, not too much of reading, for example, and not enough writing. Yeah? Not too much grammar and not enough of listening, for example. So it helps you to have a balance between different things within your lesson. A plan should also help to keep us on target. If you keep referring to your plan, then it stops you from going off over there and from going off over there. That doesn't mean that you have to stay on the plan. Yeah, but if you've gone to all the trouble of writing it and thinking about it, then it's probably a good idea to keep on target. But of course, you need to have flexibility as well. If you can see the plan isn't working, then what should you do? Change it. Although, of course, in the lesson, you don't have time to literally change the plan. You have to use what you have up here, your skills, your expertise, your knowledge. You have to use all of that in order to diversify a little bit. And one more point. A lesson plan is going to act as a record, and maybe it's going to be reusable. Yeah? And maybe it will help you to see continuity between one lesson and another lesson. When I say reusable, I think it's highly unlikely you can take a lesson plan from your class at 9 o'clock and use it in another class at 10 o'clock. Because everybody's different, learners are different, yeah? The context will be different. But certainly as a foundation for the lesson, you can probably reuse it, yeah? Maybe making little changes. I did this workshop yesterday in Jeddah and the day before in Bahrain. It's different today than it was yesterday and different from the day before. Yeah? I've sat down and I've thought about it and I've made some changes based on the audience that I know is going to be here. Okay, so a plan needs to do many things. A plan is very, very hard work to produce. Agreed? Yeah. If you're doing it properly, it's hard work, yeah? And it's time consuming. So let's have a look at another couple of aspects of what a plan needs to contain. A plan needs to contain variety, and a plan needs to contain flexibility. So when we talk about variety, we know, somebody said it earlier, learning should not be monotonous. Learning should not be boring. So in terms of variety, we shouldn't always present or practice things in the same way. As a teacher, you shouldn't always present in the same way. Yeah? As a learner, you shouldn't always practice in the same way. A good course book will not always present language in the same way. A good course book will not always get learners to practice language in the same way. So just a very quick little bit of commercial now. Just some examples from the new edition of Interchange, the Jack Richards course, which I know is very popular here in the Kingdom. A lot of you are familiar with it. There's now a 4th edition out. I just wanted to highlight here, we've got 3 examples of the way that grammar is introduced and practiced in the new edition of Interchange. This one up here is present perfect. and students have to tick boxes. Down here we've got conjunctions, and they're joining things together, and over here we've got simple present, and they have a gap fill activity. So the grammar is being presented in different ways, and the students are practicing language in different ways. Imagine if every unit was presenting and practicing language in the same way. Very boring for everybody concerned. Yeah? So we do need this variety of presentation and practice. We also need variety in terms of task types. What does that mean? Don't always use the same task type. What does that mean? Are you just holding it? What do we mean? Different task types. Yes, sir?
You mean like...
Who's got the microphone? He's holding it like an ice cream. And now he's going to leave the room. He's embarrassed now. Yeah.
Are you referring to like gap fill
Yep.
versus true false?
Yep. So in order to have variety of practice, you need variety of task types. Yeah. So it links with the previous slide. Yeah. Those different types of practice activities will actually have to be different task types. So you need to help your students to become familiar with different task types. There's another reason why we need variety of task types. Think about your learners now. Why do we need different task types? Yes, sir?
Every learner learns differently.
Yeah. Every learner will learn in a different way. Yeah. So it's very important that we have different task types. So you might like doing gap fills. So today we'll have some gap fills, but you don't like doing them. So tomorrow we'll have a matching activity, which is what you like, and so on. Yes, sir?
To avoid boring.
Yeah, to avoid boredom. Yeah, that's the key to all of this. This word variety is to avoid boredom. And here we've got 3 examples of how listening is practiced in the new edition of Interchange. Here we have circle the answer, here we have tick the answer, and down here we have make notes about the answer. So you can see that different types of learners will respond differently to these particular task types. Learning should not be monotonous, so we need to think about activities to speed up and slow down the pace, because changes in pace will also ensure that we have variety within our lesson. I don't know about you, but over the years in my own teaching, everything's been, yes, come on, let's do it, you've got 30 seconds. Who can finish first? Language teaching tends to be very dynamic, yeah? And we forget actually that sometimes students need to have a bit of a rest, a bit of a time out, yeah? Some thinking time. Yeah? And I know I'm very guilty of keeping things like this. Yeah? We also need variety of interaction patterns. Yeah? Avoid too much teacher-student, teacher-student. Yeah? Of course, teacher-student is important, because the teacher is the most important model that the students are ever going to get, yeah, in terms of language. But we want to avoid too much of this. We want our students to be working together. Because if they're not working together, they're not what? If they're not working together,
They're not active.
they're not active, and therefore they're not probably not learning very much. Yeah. And of course, if you're talking to your friend and talking in groups, you're being communicative. Yeah? Okay. Just another example from Interchange. We've got group work, we've got role play, and this one down here is pair work. So we've got different interaction patterns which are practiced throughout the book. We've also talked about flexibility. Flexibility of what? Learning should not be monotonous, so what do we need? We need to apply different techniques. What do we mean by different techniques? Techniques of what? Strategies, yeah, teaching strategies, yeah.
The ways in which we introduce vocabulary and other items.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah. So this is all about you, rather than the students. What different techniques, what different strategies do you have as a teacher? Yes, sir?
Different procedures, maybe.
Yeah, different procedures. Yeah. I guess everybody in the room, you have favourite ways of doing things.
Divide the students into groups.
Yeah.
Divide the students into groups.
Okay. Yeah. That would be one strategy. Yeah. Using group work. Yeah. If I said to you, I want you to teach a lesson tomorrow using songs and drama, how would you feel? Honestly.
Songs and drama?
You'd feel excited? Yeah? Sorry?
It's going to be amazing.
Okay, how do you feel as a teacher? If I said to you, I want a complete lesson built around using songs and drama,
It's not suitable.
you think it's not suitable. So how would you feel? I'm your boss. Tomorrow, I want a lesson on song and drama. How do you feel?
Yes. It will not benefit.
Okay, you're my boss. Tell me to do a lesson on song and drama. Tell me.
Okay, tomorrow you have a lesson on song and drama.
No way, I'm going to go and work somewhere else. I would panic. It's not one of my techniques or strategies which I feel confident in using as a teacher. Yeah? That's what I mean by different techniques. It's how you approach the whole of your lesson. Yeah? Different people like doing different things. If somebody said to me, Peter, go and take the class to the computer room and do this for them, I wouldn't be very confident, because I haven't done much teaching using computers. Yeah? I could probably get through it, but I wouldn't be very confident. Yeah? That's what we mean by applying different techniques. Usually teachers have one or two set ways of doing things. If I say teach the present perfect, you'll all think, I know what I'm going to do. Have you ever been to China? Yes, I have. No, I haven't. Have you ever eaten frogs? Yes, I have. No, I haven't. We all do it, don't we? Yeah? There are things that we're happy with. We also need to be flexible in terms of this plan which we have in front of us. Yeah? And you've got to be confident as a teacher to change the plan if you find that what you're doing is not actually appropriate for the situation that you find. Or you find that you need to do some remedial teaching. Yeah? Oh, I assume that they knew this, but actually they don't. So what do? Do you keep going?
No.
No, well you shouldn't.
I should change
Yeah.
the way.
Yeah. You should modify what you're doing. Think about what you're doing. Unfortunately, in some cases, teachers will say to me, yes, but Peter, the boss says we have to finish 3 units by the end of November. Yeah, and if I don't, I'm in trouble. Because that class over there is already on Unit 4 and I'm only on Unit 2 and I'm in trouble. Yeah? So sometimes we may think, well, maybe I shouldn't check, maybe I'll just carry on so I can get the unit finished. Gentleman here wants to say something.
In a heterogeneous class system.
You know what, sorry?
Heterogeneous class system.
Yeah.
The teacher has to be very, very eclectic. Otherwise, there is no way out.
Agreed.
In order to achieve any certain learning goals.
Absolutely agree with you. Yeah. Yeah.
Eclectic. So it works only eclectic. I think you should have.
Yeah. Agreed. Good. And the third point here, we need flexibility in terms of using different resources in the classroom. Yeah. It shouldn't just be about using the course book. I hope it's not just about using the course book, is it? Do you use different resources or mainly the course book? Let's be honest, hands on heart, what do you use more than anything?
Course book.
The course book, of course you do. And probably your syllabus is built around the course book. In many cases. Yeah? So the course book does tend to restrict us in what we're trying to do. But don't forget, there are other resources out there. Lots of different things that you can use. It doesn't have to be the course book. Yeah? And just because you're not using the course book doesn't mean you're not teaching the syllabus. The course book is just giving you one way of doing it. Yeah? And there are other ways that you can teach the syllabus even if you're not using the course book. Just one little bit more of commercial stuff. Interchange 4th edition has a DVD which accompanies the course book. And using video, using visuals with students is obviously a very, very effective way of helping them with their learning. And we'll come back to this after the break in the second workshop. But just to give you an idea about how Interchange 4 can give you a bit of help, in the teacher's resource pack, there's now a supplementary resources overview. And this gives you some ideas about how you can supplement what you're doing in the classroom using different resources. And one of those resources is the DVD, which you can't see very well. It's not really very clear, is it? But there's a menu, and this is the video menu. And then we have a video clip of people in London, I think this one is. And we can also bring up the tape script which goes with the video. So students can be watching and listening, but also getting language support by looking at the text as well. And this DVD is in every student book. So it's something you can use in the classroom, but also you can guide students to use it at home as well. So lots of flexibility in using the DVD. Okay. We've looked in very broad terms about planning, why we should do it, and in general what a lesson plan should contain. But let's get down to some more important things now. Let's think about the basic information that a lesson plan should contain. For example, every lesson plan should contain the class details. I know that sounds a bit stupid, but it is important. You need to know what age the students are, because that makes a big difference. Yeah? Obviously not with adults, but if you're teaching children, young learners, then knowing their age is very important. There's a big difference between being 7 and being 14 as a child. Yeah? And the way that you as a teacher approach a 7-year-old and a 14-year-old is going to be very, very different, obviously. Yeah? So, information about their age, obviously their level, things like the number of students is very important, because that's going to have an impact on what you can do in the classroom, yeah? And how much you need in terms of resources and materials. Things like the length of the class, the room that you're in, that may have an impact on things as well. So, once again, I'm going to stop for a couple of minutes, have a quick chat with people sitting close to you, and see if we can make a list of key elements of a lesson plan. We've got one example, class details. What other information needs to go in your lesson plan? Okay, just 2 minutes. Have a quick chat with each other. I get the feeling you're not doing the activity. But I know the ladies did, so let's go to the ladies first this time. Ladies, are you with us?
Yes?
Yeah. Would you like to start by giving us some ideas about the contents of a plan?
Okay, we have a subject at the first. Maybe I should know the subject.
Okay, what do you mean by the subject?
The title.
What do you mean by the title?
What lesson talking about?
Okay, the theme, yeah?
Yes.
Do you mean the theme?
Yes, the main idea that the subject talking about.
Can you give us an example?
For example, healthy food.
Okay.
Okay.
Right, yeah.
We also have teaching aids.
Okay. Yeah.
And other resource.
Yeah.
For example, teaching way. How can I go teaching? This is titles.
Okay.
And
yeah.
also the difference between students.
Good. Yeah.
There is a difference between students. Many students excellent, many students
yeah.
and so on.
Okay.
We have also a kind of lesson. There is a difference between lesson and another lesson.
Okay.
One lesson talking about vocabulary,
yeah.
another lesson talking about grammar, and we should know which kind of lesson.
Okay, very good. Yeah. Anything else?
That's yes.
Is that all?
Okay, we have nice.
Anything else?
1 minute. Another. No, just that.
How many of you are there in the room?
We have many.
Many
groups.
How many?
We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 groups. Each group have 6 elements.
Yeah.
And just my.
Okay. You've worked very hard. Well done. Okay. Gentlemen, can we add anything that the ladies didn't say? Let's not say the same things again. Something that they didn't say. Yes, sir.
How to make the class or the lesson integrated? You know, the core skills.
Okay.
Really.
So something about integrating all of the skills. Yeah. Okay. Good point. Yeah.
Yes, and the tools needed.
What do you mean by the tools?
No pictures.
They did that. The ladies did say materials, but yeah, the general resources.
She said,
yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. Great. Thank you very much. Great. Good. The microphone's. Who hasn't said anything? Maybe no. Behind you, this gentleman. Yeah. Behind you. Hasn't said very much. You've said a lot.
The timing of the activity, how the timing.
Right, the timing of each activity. We talked about timing of the whole lesson, but it's very important to know the timing for each activity. I don't know about you, you're all very experienced teachers, but I find it very difficult to look at an activity and think, how much time does that need? Is it 5 minutes or 10 minutes, or maybe somewhere in between? Or maybe I should give it more time, maybe I should give it less time. It's very difficult to judge how much time is going to be needed, which is why, as we've said many times, the plan has to have flexibility. Yeah? You may find the students do it more quickly, and therefore you don't need 10 minutes, you only need 5. But the stage timing is very important. Yeah, this gentleman hasn't said anything. Yeah, this one. Where's the microphone? Who's got the microphone?
we must have an idea about the assumption of the students.
Yeah, good.
Whether they have background about this topic or not.
Okay, so assumptions about learners.
Yeah, one more thing is to have a list about the problems or the mistakes we might have, and as well a list of the solution.
Okay, yeah. He came in late, didn't he? We talked about it at the beginning, but it's good to say it again. Yeah, thank you. And over here, yeah, okay, I'll come back to you, I promise. Okay, gentleman here.
Lesson plan needs
Just take the mic so the ladies can hear.
objectives. Lesson plan needs objectives.
Yeah. Okay, very good. And gentleman in the black suit, he's going to explode if he doesn't say something. Take the microphone.
Now let's read to the material of the teaching material.
Yeah, we've had that 3 times. Something different.
We should have actually a real examples actually in the material.
Okay, yeah.
Working examples.
That's good, yeah.
Okay, and we should use simple language that goes along with the level of understanding of the students.
Yeah, I think that's your methodology rather than the contents. Yeah, but I'll let you say it.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, go on.
Regarding the fields such as posters and such as...
That's resources, isn't it? Yeah, we've got that. Yeah, we've got that. We've got that.
Yes,
Yeah.
some games also.
Yeah, we've got that. We've got that. Got that. Thank you, but we've had it. Yeah. Over here? Yeah. And then the gentleman behind you.
I think it should contain time for warming up.
We've talked about timing. Yeah. Got that. Yeah. Gentleman behind you?
Names of the students.
Yeah.
Very important. Yes.
Yeah.
Names.
Knowing the names of the students. Yeah, very important. Gentleman here hasn't said yet. Okay.
Right, when he finishes. The type of lesson, is it a skills-based lesson or a language-based
I
lesson?
think the ladies did say it, but it's good to reinforce that because that's a good point. Yeah.
Okay, another one, interaction between student and...
Okay, thanks.
We should also try to add part of the lesson plan to personalize it, allow the students to plan actual use of what they learn.
Personal counseling with the student, personal counseling with the individual students will play a miracle. I have experimented this.
Is that part of your lesson plan?
It's not a part of the lesson plan, but of course, it's one of the main objectives of it.
Okay, okay, yeah, yeah.
Personal counseling is
Okay, right, one more. Yeah.
Also, we show them all the anticipated problems, all the problems that the students are.
Yeah, I think somebody said it, but yeah, it's very important. Yeah.
And how to solve it.
Yeah. Okay.
Recycling.
Yeah, we're recycling all of the content. Yes, sir.
Self-evaluation.
Yeah, yeah. Self-evaluation. Yeah. We'll come to that in a minute.
Learning process itself.
The learning process itself. What does that mean?
How will you explain the lesson?
How will you
explain the lesson?
Procedure.
Procedure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Let's move on because it's getting close to your break time. We need to know about our resources to remind us what to bring and what not to bring. Nobody mentioned this, I don't think. I apologise if you wanted to say it, but you didn't have an opportunity. But do think about the layout of your classroom. It may be outside your control. Maybe you can't control the layout. But if you can control the layout, probably, hopefully, in this day of communicative language teaching and communicative learning, we're not going to have our students sitting in rows like this, because there's nothing communicative about this. Yeah? We want, ideally, for our students to be in small groups, small, manageable groups. Because if they're in small groups, they can communicate with each other. Yeah? It's very difficult to communicate people when you're sitting next to each other like that. You keep going like that all the time. Yeah? It's very unrealistic. We don't do that in real life. Sit around the table and you can communicate with each other. So do consider that if you have the option to move the furniture in your classroom. We've said this several times, but I think it's worth saying again, and again and again and again, assumptions about your learners. But of course you can't make any assumptions if you don't know your learners. So you have to get to know your learners first, and then you can start making assumptions. I would also say though, of course, never assume. Because as soon as you start making assumptions, something goes wrong and it all changes. But of course there are basic assumptions that you can make about your learners. This has also been mentioned several times, but I do think it's worth going over again and again and again. You've got to start anticipating the problems that you think learners will have with the content of your lesson. Not the problems they're having with their mum and dad or with their friends, we're not interested in that, but we're talking about anticipated problems with the present perfect. Yeah, anticipated problems with just reading. Yeah? I know my students are going to have a problem with just reading, and therefore I'm going to do this. Yeah? That's what I'm going to do with them. And it's very closely linked in with assumptions about your learners. Yeah? My students have learned the present simple. They've learned the simple past. Now we're going to introduce the past participle. Yeah? So remember what I said earlier. Familiar to unfamiliar. So they're familiar with the present. They're familiar with the past. Now we need the past participle. Otherwise they can't use the present perfect. Yeah? So we're not giving them everything before they have anything else. Lesson focus. This came up a few times as well. Is it a vocabulary lesson? Is it a reading lesson? And I guess linked in with that also is what's the focus of the lesson. Another very important one, your lesson aims, or teaching aims if you prefer, and very importantly, the learning outcomes. And remember, a learning outcome is something that your students will be able to do at the end of the lesson that they couldn't do when they walked into the classroom. Yeah? So that comes back to this, doesn't it? I'm assuming my learners can't do this. They can't use the present perfect. They can't form question. They can't form the question, have you ever done this? Yeah? By the end of the lesson, they will be able to ask a question, have you ever been to China? And answer, no I haven't, yes I have. That will be the learning outcome. So my lesson aim is to introduce the question form of the present perfect and to give students the confidence to ask a question and give an answer. So the learning outcome is when my two students can ask each other, have you ever been to China? Yes, I have. No, I haven't. Yeah? So it's very important that we identify all of that. I'm going to call it personal action points, but somebody said self-evaluation, I think? I can't remember who it was. Yeah? Somebody said it. But we spend a lot of time assessing our students. We spend a lot of time assessing the material, the course book, and probably criticising it as well. What we need to do also is look at me, look at the teacher. Yeah? What have I done in this lesson? What can I improve on as a teacher? Many of us will probably say, I can't improve. But of course we can. Everybody can improve. Whatever we're doing, we can always find ways to improve. The problem, of course, is how do you know? How do you know what your personal action points should be? Anybody got a nice idea for this? How do you know what your personal action points should be? How can you self-evaluate? Yes, sir?
Getting evaluation from the students.
Yeah. Getting an evaluation from the students, that's quite tricky to do, isn't it?
You feedback more than
yeah.
It will be a feedback here rather than evaluation.
Yeah, you'll certainly get feedback during the lesson. Yeah.
How well you obtain your learning outcomes.
Yeah, that's very important. If my two students can't say, have you ever been to China? Yes, I have. No, I haven't. By the end of my lesson, then I've done something wrong. Yeah? Something's gone wrong with all of this. Yeah? Maybe I've made an assumption about my learners which was wrong. So maybe in my personal action points, I need to have another think about what my learners can actually do. Yeah?
Check their understanding.
Of course, check their understanding. Yeah, yeah. I mean, we're slipping away from what I want you to get thinking about. How do I know what my personal action points should be? Okay, a questionnaire. Can you do that every lesson?
No.
40 students, questionnaire every lesson?
I can do the workbook.
You can do?
The workbook, use the workbook.
But how does that tell you what your personal action points are?
You know that, do they understand the lesson?
Yeah, okay, that's one part of it. Yeah.
Also throughout the class, you see the reaction of the students.
Yeah. I think it's very important to observe your students and see what's going on. Are they looking out the window and checking their phones, or are they involved? If they're not involved, then probably you need to be doing something about the way that you're teaching. Yes, ladies?
First of all, we are too many with a very small room, which is not encouraging.
You should see our room.
Okay. But I'm sorry to say that, but I have to say it.
Okay.
Okay, about
outside my control, sorry.
Okay, about the point. We used to put some sort of questions, okay, at the end of each lesson.
Yeah.
Did I do that? Did I achieve that?
Very good.
Okay.
Yeah. I like
that. Yeah, we answer these questions and related to them, we know if we just tell in something or just, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think that's great. I think you have some questions that you can ask them. Just one final thing, because we're getting very close to break time. Another thing I think you can do is just openly say to your students, tell me one thing that you really liked about today's lesson. And tell me one thing you didn't like so much about today's lesson. Don't use the verb hate, but just say one thing you didn't like so much. And see what sort of feedback you get from the students. Because not only will it tell you about things that you need to do, but it will also tell you about things that your students like and dislike. And of course, the last thing that our lesson plan needs to have is the procedure. Yeah? Of course, all of this, if you like, is an overview of the lesson. Before you can plan your lesson, you need to have all of this information, don't you? Once you have all of this, then you can start thinking, right, what am I going to do for my warm-up? What am I going to do as an introduction? What am I going to do here? What am I going to do here? And so on and so forth. So your procedure is teacher does, student does. And I just want to show you another example from Interchange 4th edition, because I think this is a lovely free resource that the book is giving you. I'm very sorry if you can't see that very well. It looks like it's lost its contrast. But the reason I'm showing you this is because it's a page from the teacher's book for Interchange 4th edition. And basically, the teacher's book tells you the stage of the lesson and the lesson aim. Yeah? It also tells you the learning objectives. Yeah, the two things that we mentioned earlier. Yeah? It's important to know what I'm trying to do, and it's important to know how I'm going to know if I've actually been successful. Yeah? Can the students do this? It also tells me the resources that I need in order to achieve my learning objectives. We also have some extra tips on areas of language and areas of skills. So if there's a particularly interesting word or structure, there are tips for teachers. Very importantly, in terms of procedure, teacher does this, and of course then we need students do this. So it's a bit like tennis, isn't it? I do this, they do that. I do this, they do that. So you've got this constant backwards and forwards, yeah? These activities which complement each other through the lesson. Very importantly, we have options. It builds in a little bit of variety into the lesson. This is great for mixed ability classes. If you need to differentiate a little bit, we have some optional things that you can do. Maybe for your early finishers, you can go to the options and it will give you something extra that you can do. It also tells us about our interaction. And this is very important to make sure it's not too much teacher-student, teacher-student, teacher-student. So it will show us the variety of interaction that's going on in the lesson. Very good. We also have the answers. That's what we want, isn't it? Yeah? Even at level 1, we need the answers. And the last thing we have, and again, very important for mixed ability classes and differentiation, we have extension activities. So these are things that you can give to students who finish early, or if you come to the end of your class and you want to bring it over into the next day, there are extension activities that you can do. So all of these different aspects that we mentioned on the previous slide, all of those things there, you'll find in the teacher's book that goes with Interchange 4. Okay, my watch says 5:30, and I was told to stop at 5:30 for our prayer break. Yeah? So let's just bring it all to a conclusion. I hope we've managed to do most of this. We talked about what a good lesson is like, and we said it was like 4 things. It's like a play, football match, symphony, and a meal. Yeah? Those are the 4 things that we use to say that a good lesson is like them, because those 4 things have what? What does a play have?
Beginning,
yeah, it has a beginning, a middle, and an end. What does a football match have? Pace, energy. Yeah? What does a good meal have?
Combination of elements.
Combination of elements, good, which complement each other. Yeah? And what's the other one? Symphony. Symphony has harmony. Theme. That's a play, wasn't it? We also looked at why we plan, all of those different reasons. We've talked a little bit about variety and flexibility, and we've just been looking at the contents of the plan. And oh dear, we didn't have time to do any lesson planning. But that can be your homework. Any questions before we break? Ladies, anything? Yes, sir.
You talked about assumptions.
Yeah.
Assumptions. But I just wanted to make a point as the classes go on throughout the semester, our assumptions should become more accurate. Like in the beginning of the semester, of course, we go by the basic assumptions. But as we get to know our students, and when we finish one class, we should have a pretty good assumption of where they're going to be at for the next lesson.
Yeah, great point.
Also, I wanted to make a point is very, very common, I guess, where I come from in America and possibly the UK, is that it's very, very strange when you're in a lecture or interview or business meeting that cell phones keep going off. It's I believe it to be disrespectful to the presenter. So if we could just turn our cell phones on vibrate or silent, and that way we can all focus on the presentation at hand. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. I said you could have the presentation and also the next one after the break. That's my email address. Send me an email and I'm more than happy to give you it. I'll put it up again at the end of the break. By my watch, it's 25 to 6. Can we be back in 30 minutes? Does that fit in with the prayer break and the tea and the coffee? Sorry? 6:30, an hour? An hour for what? That's not my program, it's his program. Is half an hour okay? 30 minutes, okay. Just after 6, let's come back, yeah? Great. Because every teaching situation is different. There's no one way of doing it. Depends who your students are, who you are, where you're teaching, etc., etc. But I think we can hopefully identify some broad strategies which will be useful in any situation. Okay, let's start with the word engage. Let's have a think about what it means. Can I ask you, with your friends, with your colleagues, make a quick list of words or phrases which you think capture the meaning of engage, in terms of teaching and learning, not in terms of getting married, but in terms of teaching and learning. Just 60 seconds this time, very quickly. See what words you can come up with. Verbs, probably, which are synonymous with engage. Just write them down for 60 seconds. You don't like working together, do you? You don't like pair work? No, you contact me and I'll send it to you. Sorry?
Excuse me?
No, I'll give you my email on the screen.
Mr. Peter?
You can write it down. Yes, madam?
How do you know that we're not engaging each other?
No, I wasn't talking about you because I can't see you. The men are not doing a lot of pair work. They're all looking at me, waiting for the answers. But you're not doing that, ladies, are you? Ladies?
Yes.
Yeah. You're engaging, are you?
We sure are.
Great, good. So I wish I could see you, but of course I can't, so I'll have to take your word for it. You could be having a party for all I know. Okay, because the ladies are doing the activity and the men are not, let's ask the ladies. Come on, ladies. Give us the answers. So words which mean engage. It's coming.
You can see us.
Yeah, I can hear them passing the mic around. Okay, here we go.
Here's a list that we made. Attract, interest, focus, excite, create a need to learn, stimulate, have fun, hook, busy.
Okay, lovely. And all of those verbs apply to the ladies' room, yeah?
Yeah, sure.
Great, brilliant. Okay. Men.
Interact with.
Right, come on then. Who's got the microphone? We're not very well organised down here, ladies, I'm sorry. We need a microphone, so the ladies. Who's got the microphone?
Microphone.
Microphone?
Yeah, please, the microphone.
Vanished.
Someone's stolen the microphone.
Here it is right there.
Where? No, that's a different. No? No microphone? Okay, you tell me and I'll tell the lady.
Okay. Interact.
Yeah, can we have something different from what the lady said? Let's have different words. Yeah, otherwise we're just saying the same thing.
Communicate.
Yeah, communicate. Good one, yeah.
Keeping students busy.
Keeping students busy. Yeah, yes sir.
Participate.
Yeah, lovely.
Interaction.
Yeah, lovely. Interaction, yeah. Involved, yeah, come on, let's do different. Cooperate. Yeah, good. Being dynamic, lovely. Okay, we get the idea. Yeah? Think about the word engage now in your own first language if it's not English. So if your first language is Arabic, just translate the word engage into Arabic.
Busy.
Okay? Don't you need to tell me. Just do it up here. And now translate it back again into English. Do you get the same meaning? Is engage the same in Arabic as it is in English? Does it have as many different connotations as it does in English? No, you're supposed to say no, it doesn't. People are telling me that engage in Arabic has two main meanings. Okay, lots of people are nodding, yeah? Whereas in English, the word engage has lots and lots of different meanings that we can associate with it. It's quite useful sometimes when you translate a word into another language and then translate it back again, you may find actually that there isn't a direct translation, there isn't a direct meaning between the two languages. Okay, so we have lots and lots of different meanings for the word engage. So I'm going to give you a handout in just a minute, and on the handout there are 9 verbs. And what I've done with the verbs is to remove the vowels from the verbs. And all the 9 vowels have a similar meaning, sorry, all the 9 verbs have a similar meaning to engage. Okay? So, the handout looks like this. There are your 9 verbs with the vowels taken out. What do you have to do? Put in the vowels. Yeah? Nice easy task for you. Okay. Ladies, do you have the handout? Ladies, do you have the handout?
Go ahead.
Talk to me. I think the party's finished and they've gone home.
They're handing out.
You don't have them?
No, they're being handed out.
Oh, they're being handed out. Okay, great. Thank you.
Right, who's a helper? You look like a helper. Thank you very much. You look like a helper. Thank you very much. You look like a helper, and you look like a helper.
Many of them, maybe some of them for some of you, there's obviously a connection. Okay. You don't have to finish it, it's not a test. It's just to give you an idea. So, can we look at the screen, please? Look at the screen. We'll look at the answers in just a minute. Before we look at the answers, answer this. Did you enjoy it?
Yes.
Why or why not?
It was engaging.
It was engaging. Thank you, madam. What made it engaging?
Pair work.
Okay, there was a degree of pair work, so you're working with somebody. Yeah? Okay, it was communicative. You may be helping and talking to each other. Yeah? What else made it engaging? Thank you. Very important word. It was a challenge.
And there was an element of discovery.
Yes. Yes, you were discovering things. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. It's also an interesting activity. Let's go back to the word challenge. We should always be challenging our students. If things are too easy for them, students won't be engaged and they'll be demotivated. If things are too difficult for them, they won't be engaged and they'll be demotivated. Yeah? So what we're looking for with language teaching and learning is something which is just above the level of the students. Yeah? Something which challenges them, but it's not so difficult that they can't actually find the answers to things. Yeah? Now, the words that you had on the list, the 9 verbs, they're all to do with what?
Engage.
Engage. Yeah, the topic that we just discussed. Yeah? Are the words on the list new vocabulary, or is it vocabulary that you already know?
Vocabulary you know.
Obviously, vocabulary that you already know. Yeah? So you're activating stuff that you already actually know. Yeah? So we're moving from familiar to unfamiliar, will come later. All right, so let's see what they were. First one was occupy. Yeah? So if you're occupied with something, it means you're busy with something. Yeah? So in order to be engaged, you've got to get your students busy. You've got to get them occupied. You've got to get them doing something. Not you, them. Yeah? It's the students who should be doing something. What was number 2? Secure. Yeah, to secure. That means you have some sort of contact, to hold. Yeah? This is obviously from the dictionary. It's not specifically about teaching. But to secure is an important word with engage. Third one, to attract. Yeah. If you can attract your students and hold them, yeah? We have an expression in English, I don't know if you have it in Arabic, to have somebody in the palm of your hand. Yeah? If you've got them in the palm of your hand, you can do anything with them. Yeah? Your students will jump through the window if you have them here. They'll stand on their heads if you have them here. Yeah? So it's to attract, but not just to attract, but also to hold on to them. You don't want to attract them just for 10 minutes. You need to attract them for, what, 40 minutes? Is that your lesson? 50 minutes, whatever it is. Next one? Please. Yeah, to attract or please. This is the next dictionary definition. You've got to keep your students happy, haven't you? If your students are happy, they're going to be engaged. And if they're engaged, they're going to be motivated. And if they're motivated, they're going to be successful, they're going to learn. And what was number 5?
Entangle.
Entangle with an E, yeah. To entangle, yeah? Or involve, yeah? If you're not sure of the word entangle, it basically means I can't do it because I'm holding a mic. Yeah, to be connected. Yeah? And the next one, to occupy oneself, to become involved. And then the last 3, absorb. Yeah? A sponge absorbs water. Yeah? If you're engrossed, how do you feel? If you're engrossed, how do you feel? Engaged. In what? How engaged? A little bit or very much? Very much. A little. No, the opposite, very much. If you're engrossed, you're really, really interested in something. Yeah? And there we have the last verb, interest. So, engage has all of these synonymous meanings. So, let's now use these verbs again with a different activity. And this time we're going to do a word search. You know what a word search is? Yes. That's a word search.
Yes.
Spaghetti. Yeah? And in the spaghetti you have to find the words. Which words do you have to find?
The 9 words.
The 9 verbs you just done in the other activity. Yeah? Now, because you're teachers of English, and you're very intelligent, I've made it difficult for you. 4 of the words go down. 3 words go across, 2 words go diagonally, and some of the words go backwards. So it may go across, but we spell backwards. It may be spelled downwards, but go backwards. Yeah? But you can do it, can't you? Yeah? Yes? Yes! Of course you can do it. So I need 4 helpers. Where's my helper? He's run away. Got them? Yeah? No? I don't know where they are. Attract is in the first column. Involve is in the 3rd column. Absorb is where? The 4th column, and engross is in the 5th column. Easy peasy. Next 3. Interest, please, and secure go across. But interest is across spelled backwards. Please, the last 3rd one. Please. 3rd column. Sorry?
The first column, address the second column.
Yeah. Please and secure are actually together. And diagonal, entangle and occupy. But entangle is spelled backwards. Okay, got them? All right. So, again, did you enjoy the activity? Why? Okay, somebody didn't, so let's find out why.
Because I feel dizzy, I stepped out of my watch and now I cannot concentrate.
Generally speaking, did you enjoy the activity?
Yes.
Why? You're engaged. What is it that makes it engaging? It's a challenge. Good. What else? What else makes it engaging?
Involving.
You're involved? Yeah. Sorry? Yeah, you're keeping very busy doing the activity. Yeah.
Interesting.
It is interesting.
Competition.
There is a competitive spirit in it as well. Yes, sir?
Eager to find the word.
Yeah, you're very eager to find the words. Okay, now, it was a little bit difficult. I made it difficult because you're teachers. Yeah? And I thought you could do it. You've disappointed me. If you look at the bottom of the handout, you'll see a web page. Yeah? Called tools.a2zteacherstuff.com. Okay? So, if you'd like to use word searches in your classroom, that's a very, very good website for designing them. All you do is get your words, your 10 words, your 6 words, you type them in, and the software will design the word search for you. But the great thing about that one, that particular program, there are many, but the great thing about that one, it allows you to decide if you want the words to go across, or down, or diagonally, or backwards, or a mixture of all of them. So you can make it less difficult just by choosing the options. Yeah? As I said, I made it difficult because you're teachers. Yeah? Okay. Interchange 4th edition has lots and lots of activities similar to the ones you've just done. Working with vocabulary, playing around with words, yeah? Recycling, reactivating vocabulary. You'll find lots and lots of examples in Interchange, particularly in the workbook. Okay. I think if you've managed to engage your students, the result will be motivated students. Yeah? If you're engaged in something, there's a desire to keep doing it. And that's all about motivation. I think it's important that we try to get students to be self-motivated rather than externally motivated. Yeah? If you're self-motivated, it's quite likely that the motivation will be much, much stronger. Yeah? Because it's coming from inside. It's coming from we've said that engaging our learners is the key to motivating them. So what does it mean? I've just gone to the internet and found a couple of what I think are useful definitions, if you like, for motivation. The first one is quite a long one. Motivation is defined as the process that initiates, that means to start, doesn't it? It guides and it maintains goal-oriented behaviours. Motivation is what causes us to act. Yeah? Motivation causes us to do something, whether it's getting a drink because you're thirsty, opening a book to get some knowledge, if you're a smoker going for a cigarette because you need nicotine, or whatever it is. It's motivation which drives us. It causes us to do something. Yeah? If you think about your students in the classroom, those students who are looking at their phones or looking out the window or not looking at you, they're doing it for a reason. Yeah? They have a motivation for checking their phone. What's the motivation? What's the motivation?
Factor that draw the student's attention.
Okay, so if a student is looking at their phone instead of looking at you, what's the motivation that's causing that?
I told you factors that draw the attention of the students.
Okay, motivation is defined as the process that initiates, guides, and maintains goal-oriented behaviours. In other words, if I know what my goal is, I'm going to be more motivated than if I don't know what my goal is. Yeah? And your goal is your reason for doing something. That's why you're trying to do it. It's very important that students know what the goal is. If you think about it, from the moment you wake up in the morning to the moment you go to sleep at night, every single thing that you do, you have a reason for doing it. Yeah?
No, sure.
We have a difficult customer here. Tell us why, sir. Think of nothing. There's always a reason. Even if you can't identify the reason, you have a reason. Yeah? You're watching TV because you don't want to do anything else. So you do have a reason. Sorry? Pass the time. Yeah. But let's just bring it back to our workshop. Think about your students in the classroom and the things that you ask them to do. Do you always have a reason for asking them to do it?
Sure.
Well, I think let's put our hands on our hearts and say sure. I don't think I can, honestly. I'm sure in my career as a teacher, I've asked students to do things, and actually, why did I ask them to do that? It's in the book. It's exercise 2 after exercise 1. Yeah? I think there are things that we do in the classroom that maybe we need to think carefully. Are we really asking them to do this for a reason? And very often, of course, students don't know why they're doing exercise 2. Because we don't tell them why we're doing it. We say, right, we've done number 1, now let's do number 2. Yeah? Fill in the gaps. Yeah? Without actually telling the students why they're filling in the gaps. So, it's important if we tell students what the goals are. Not just of individual activities, but the lesson as a whole. You're doing this so that you can do this. If you don't do this, you won't be able to do this. Tell your students what the learning outcomes are. Yeah? Make them more aware of what they'll be able to do at 6 o'clock that they can't do at 5 o'clock when they first come in. If they have reasons for doing things, they're much more likely to be motivated. But if they don't know why they're doing something, then the motivation is likely to be less strong.
Can we share something?
Please do. Yeah.
Actually, about a year ago, I realised this about my own classes, and I've noticed a massive difference. When the students understand why they're doing something and the purpose of that thing and how they're going to gain from it, it's like 10 times easier for my objectives to be reached, basically.
Okay, I'll pay you later, okay? Thank you. Yeah, I don't know if you understood what the lady was saying, but she said she did exactly this. Told her students what the goals were, and there was a massive increase in their motivation level. Yeah? It's a very small thing, isn't it, to think about, but actually a very big thing in the classroom. Here's a bit more about motivation. Motivation involves the biological, emotional, social, and cognitive forces. So it's not just about up here, it's about what's inside me as well. There's lots and lots of things involved in motivation. All of these things, these forces, they activate our behaviour. In everyday usage, the term motivation is frequently used to describe why a person does something. Yeah? And I'm doing this activity so that I can do the next activity. I'm filling in the gaps so that I can understand the whole text. Yeah? I'm doing just reading so I can get an idea of the whole meaning of the text. I'm writing a blog because it's going to help me when I do this, etc., etc. Yeah? So defining why students are doing something will certainly increase their motivation. So, if we can engage our students, we can occupy them, entangle them, engross them, absorb them, whatever verb you want to choose, then we have a reason, we have a motivation for doing something. And of course what we want is for our students to learn. But if we haven't engaged them, they're not going to be motivated, and of course they're not going to learn. So the key really is to go back and to go back and to go back. The key is to go back to lesson planning. Yeah? Of course what you do in the classroom is important, but I think what's more important is how you plan what you're going to do in the classroom. Yeah? And the most important aspect of your plan should be, how am I going to engage my students? Yeah? Because once you've engaged them, as we've said, they'll be motivated. And if they're motivated, they're going to learn. Okay, motivation involves 3 major behaviours. And we have activation, persistence, and intensity. So what do you think those 3 words mean? Activation means? Not so much to be active, but the start, the activation of something. Yeah? If you activate something, it begins. So with motivation, we need activation. Something has to click. Yeah? Something has to make me say, yeah, I like this. Yeah, I want to do it. Yeah? The first push. Good. And once it's been activated, we need, which means To go on, to keep going. Yeah? Now, why is little Ali or Fatma, why are they going to persist with something? What's going to make them want to keep going?
Because every new lesson will...
Sorry, ladies, say again?
Because every new lesson will bring her something new that she hasn't known.
Okay, yeah.
Hopefully in a fun way.
Okay, excellent, good. And?
Because they like to do this.
Okay, there's an enjoyment, there's an engagement with it, yeah? They're interested, yeah? Good. And another reason why I want to keep going. Yes? Achievement. Yeah, thank you, lovely. Achievement. Yeah? I'm managing to do something. Yeah? It's not too difficult for me. If you give students things to do which are too difficult, why would they want to continue? What's the point? It's too difficult, teacher. I hate English, I hate you, I hate school. I don't want to do any more. Yeah? But if you give students things to do where they can reach the next level, where they can keep going, then it's part of this whole motivational behaviour. Yeah? So we need to give things which will challenge students, but which are not so difficult that they can't actually achieve them. Because if there's no achievement, they'll stop. Yeah? How do students know if they've achieved something?
Check their progress.
Okay, they check their own progress, but also
Teacher's face. Teacher's face.
Teacher's face.
Yes.
Yeah. Feedback. Yeah. It's our job, isn't it, to tell our students that you're doing something right or you're doing something wrong. Yes, sir.
Communication with the teacher.
Certainly. Yeah. Very good. Communication with the teacher, and putting all of that together. Yeah.
Answering the question.
Yeah. Good. And the gentleman next to you. Yeah.
Brainstorming.
Yeah, that's one aspect of this persistence. Let's put it all together. What we need to give students is, let's play a game. It begins with R. Ends in D. Ends in D. Yeah, reward. Yeah? We need to give our students reward. If you're rewarding your students, they know that they're doing well and they'll want to continue. Yeah? Reward, of course, can be negative, but what we need to be giving them is positive reward, positive reinforcement. Yeah, you're doing well, Ali. Good job, Fatma. Keep going, keep going, keep going. If you keep going like this, you'll be able to go to the next page, the next level, the next whatever. Yeah? Encouragement is a very important word. So, first of all, we need to activate, we need to kickstart this motivation. Yeah? Then we need to ensure that the students will want to continue with whatever it is. And the third behaviour, intensity, which means what? I think the reinforcement is going to come more here, but intensity is to do with what? Enthusiasm, yeah?
Aiming for perfection.
Okay, aiming for perfection, I like that. Yeah, the strength for something, isn't it? Yeah? Okay, so, why is that an important behaviour in motivation? Yeah? To upgrade them. Yeah. To be honest with you, if you're just persisting at the same level, yeah, well done, Ali, well done, Ali, well done, Ali, well done, Ali, it's going to get boring. Yeah? So what I want is, well done, Ali, well done, Ali. Should we try a bit harder? Okay, let's move up a level. Yeah? Teacher, I can't do it. Yes, you can. Come on, try a bit harder. Yeah? Use some different techniques. Let's try and move up to the next level. Think about computer games. Anybody play computer games? Everybody does. Everybody does. Do you want to stay on level 1? No. Why not? Sorry? You want to go to the next step. As the lady said, it becomes boring, doesn't it? Yeah? The first time you're successful at level 1, yes! But again? No. I want to go to the next level and the next level. Yes, sir?
Just to add some sort of challenge.
Yeah, exactly. So, some words. Yeah? Which words do you think apply to these three behaviours? Concentration, where does that come?
Persistence.
I think persistence and maybe a bit of intensity as well. You've got to be focused, you've got to concentrate. Yeah. Making decisions, when does that come? It's over here, isn't it? You need to make a decision first of all. Effort. Persistence. Yeah, I think probably both these two, and maybe even an effort to start as well. Energy? Okay, initiate, activation, yeah. Obstacles, Yeah. If you put some obstacles in the way of the student, then they're going to have to fight that a little bit harder, so we shift into intensity as well. Pursuit, which means to follow. Persistence, yeah. Time. Probably all of it, really, because in order to be involved in something, you're going to need time. And vigor. Yeah. Okay. Did you enjoy that activity? Yes. Yeah, brainstorming the ideas? Yeah? You're beginning to fall asleep, look at you. Okay. We're going to move into strategies now. Yeah? A lot of authors say that if we can get our students listening to authentic recordings of people speaking, that's a highly motivating and engaging activity for learners to do. By authentic, I mean what? What do you mean by original? Real life. Well, somebody saying native speakers. No, it doesn't have to be native speakers. What it has to be is real life. Yeah? Something meaningful, but it doesn't have to be native speakers. Definitely not. Yeah? So, many authors say that listening to authentic recordings is a great motivator for students. Why? Why do you think students feel motivated if they're listening to something which is authentic?
Because it's really difficult for them in the beginning process, so when they start to understand or begin to understand, it's motivating.
Okay, gentleman is saying that to begin with it's quite difficult to process, but the more practice they get, it'll actually become just part of their normal listening, so it becomes easier. Yeah, good, well done.
They are practicing something which is real.
Now has a video program, which I mentioned in the first workshop. And remember that a video program is going to provide authentic materials for students to not just listen to, but of course also to watch. And it's far better, isn't it, if we're trying to help students with their listening, if they can actually see the speaker as well as hear the speaker, it's much more realistic. Yeah? How often in real life do we have to listen to somebody that we can't see? I know the ladies, you're doing it, and I'm doing it with you, but generally speaking, we can see the person that we're speaking to. Why is that an advantage? Yes, sir?
You're using two of the senses.
You're using?
Two senses, seeing and listening.
Yeah, we're using another sense, which is the seeing side.
Face expression.
Yeah. Body language, yeah. It's the body language. All of this that I'm doing, I don't do it because I have a problem. I'm doing it to help you. Yeah? And I'm looking at you, and I'm reading your body language as well. Yeah? So I can see if you're understanding and if you're interested and if you're bored.
Interaction.
Yeah, it is interaction. Yeah? And as a speaker, I can change what I'm saying or what I'm planning to say by looking at your faces and looking at your body language. Eye contact, yeah. It's very, very important. So why, in the classroom, is most listening this, without actually seeing anything? That's a rhetorical question. Yeah, you don't have to answer it. But if you think about it, the listening practice that we're giving our students is more like a test. One strategy is to provide authentic recordings for learners to listen to. Yeah? What other strategies have we got which we know are great for motivating our students? I know, ladies, if I ask you to do this, you will do it. Gentlemen, will you do it if I ask you?
No.
Talk to each other? You probably won't, will you? But you have 60 seconds. Have a quick chat. Let's see if we can come up with 2 or 3 strategies which you know, as teachers, are good for motivating your learners. Yeah? 60 seconds, go. The ladies haven't said. You should see their faces. Yeah.
High level of energy.
High level of energy. By who?
The teacher.
The teacher. But also, hopefully the students as well. So energy levels. Yeah, trying to increase energy levels. Yeah, gentleman here. Yeah.
I asked the students, I asked the students, why do you want to learn English?
Okay.
What do you want to do with English? And what does it mean for your future?
Great strategy. Lovely. Yeah, good. So,
Choose a topic to talk about culture or interest. Yes. Yeah. So,
that's personalising it. Yeah. Great. Good. Anything else? Sorry. Yeah. Competition in the classroom. Yeah.
Making it enjoyable.
Yeah, making it enjoyable. Yes, sir.
The longest
should be suitable for the level of the.
Okay, very important. Make sure it's the right level, but
Yes.
with challenge. Yeah?
Role play. Role play.
Role play.
Okay, yeah, behind you.
Give the students an opportunity to correct their own errors.
Yeah, good.
Okay. Two motivation experts called whatever. They did a survey of over 200 teachers in Hungary, and they checked their views on how the teachers motivate their learners. And they were asked two questions. First of all, how important they thought a particular strategy was, but probably more importantly, how often they used it. Yeah? So the first question is, how important do you think this strategy is? And secondly, do you actually use it? How often do you use it? Because it's okay to sit here and say, yeah, we think DVD is great, but do we actually use it? Yeah? It's okay to sit here and say, yes, we think you should do this, but do you actually do it? It's theory and practice. So, the teachers had to choose from 51 different strategies, and from those 51 strategies, we have a list of 10 motivational macro strategies. That sounds nice, doesn't it? Yeah? You can order that for dinner, motivational macro strategies. I'll have a plate of that. So, based on the answers, the two researchers came up with these 10 motivational macro strategies, which we're now going to have a look at through a game called Word Dominoes. Do you know what dominoes are?
Yes.
Of course you do, yeah. In the traditional game of dominoes, you have a little what do you have? A little domino, yeah? Which is split down the middle. And on one side you have some dots, and on the other side you have some dots. And what you have to do is find another domino which has the same number of dots, and you match them together. And the idea is to make like a train. So you're matching the dominoes together and see who can make the longest train with the dominoes. This is a variation of dominoes. Instead of having numbers on the dominoes, we're going to have words. So imagine you've printed this, you then cut it up here, and you cut it across, so you end up with 10 dominoes, or 6, or 50, however you want to do it in the classroom. Yeah? Now, so we have 1 domino, 2 dominoes, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You see that?
Yes.
Right, on the right of the domino, all of these words are what? They're all verbs. Yeah? And on these 5 dominoes, we have more verbs. Yeah? So the words on the left of each domino are nouns or adverbs. Yeah? So what we're trying to do is match a verb with a noun or an adverb. Yeah? So if you look at increase, what could increase go with? It could be autonomy, couldn't it? Or it could be self-confidence. Okay, let's put increase with... No, let's just... What about set? Where does that go?
An example.
Set. Example. They go together. Yeah? And then we have develop. So we need something for develop. Develop what? Develop... Could be relationships. Okay, so then we put those two together. So what we're trying to do is match a verb with a noun or an adverb. You have to imagine that in the classroom, it wouldn't be two-dimensional. Yeah, these would be cut up separately. Not surprising that the students' mobile phones are going off. Yeah? It's about setting a good example in terms of behaviour in the language classroom. If I come to the lesson late, I can't criticise my students for coming late. Yeah? If I say to my students, give me your homework tomorrow, and then I take 2 weeks to mark it and give it back to them, it's not setting a good example. Yeah? So as a teacher, we have to be a good role model in terms of classroom behaviour. Yeah? Not so much in terms of how we teach, that's another issue. But we're talking here about setting a good example, a good role model example. Secondly, develop good relationships with the learners.